Welcome back to the Gridiron Pulse. We're back for episode two. Cole Aycock, and I got my co-host here, Jacob.
Up there.
Jacob, how's it going, brother?
Pretty good, pretty good. How was your weekend? Everything going smoothly?
Yeah, my weekend's going pretty smoothly. You know, we're back for episode two, so that means that we didn't completely give up on episode after
Okay.
episode one, which that's always a good sign. I thought it went pretty well. Of course, there are things that we can improve on, but that's what we're here to do. And So I guess we could just go ahead and hop right into it. So there was a Final Four. There were some basketball games. Um, Coming into it, my what I wanted it to be Auburn and I wanted it to be Duke. So then conveniently, of course, it's Florida
Yep.
and Houston in the national championship.
Sounds about right.
So yeah, it just seems to always work like that. And these were both very good games. I'm just glad that at least I didn't get the results that I wanted, but at least they were good games. Um,
It's about time we got
Really,
some competitive games in this tournament.
yeah, I know there's been a lot of talk about March Madness and how this has just been chalk madness, only the good, better teams winning, which I guess technically that's what's supposed to happen, but that's why it's
Yep.
March Madness, is because we don't want stuff that usually happens. But regardless, we had a good Final Four. And I mean, Auburn, it seemed like Auburn coming into it, the tournament itself, Florida was the sexy pick. They were,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this team's hot. They are clearly the best team
Shoot a lot
and
of threes.
shoot a lot of threes, got great guard play. And that narrative, I almost thought was getting way too much. Just, it was just getting talked about too much. And
Yeah.
usually, how it works is the team that you think is going to win it all and the team that's getting the most love, that's when it kind of goes off the rails for them. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, Florida, down at halftime, I believe they were down by 8. They
Yep.
end up coming back and winning. Auburn an atrocious second half, and Janai Broome just seemingly disappeared for the whole second half. He just seemed very hesitant. I don't know if it was the elbow, but um, that's kind of my overall thoughts on that game. I just thought Broome, it was his time to show that he was the national player of the year. And again, injuries might have had concerns with that, but that's kind of what I thought with that game. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think going into halftime, Janai Broome had like 12 points or something like that, and I think he finished with 14 or 15. Just basically held to nothing in the second half. I mean, Florida definitely proved that they were the sexy pick. They did what they've been doing for this end stretch of the year. Walter Clayton Jr., dude can hoop, make some
Iona
threes. They
legend,
made a lot
Walter
of
Clayton
threes.
Jr.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, he looks like the truth. He looks like the national player of the year rather than Janai Broome. What about the other game, the other national player of the year candidate, Cooper Flag, bricks one to win.
Yeah, dude, that's another reason why I wanted it to be Auburn and Duke, because I wanted the Janai Broome Cooper Flag matchup in the national championship, because that has been the national player of the year race the entire season.
Yep.
It was those two going head to head, and it's been one of the closer national player of the year races we've seen.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying that they just need to just give it co-national player of the year, which if there was a year to do it, this would have been the
Probably
year.
be this
But
one. Yeah.
exactly, and the the talk about it with Cooper Flag isn't necessarily the missed shot. It's that very controversial over the back call that he got.
Right.
And by looking at it, I'm not a refs cost in this game. I'm very much you take have to take advantage, and both teams probably aren't going to get that great calls, and you just have to. The better team's going to find a way to win.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a very tough call in that moment. That is just two guys going for a very important rebound in a Final Four. That, by all intents and purposes, to me and for a lot of people on Twitter and just overall the internet as a whole, that was not a great call.
Yeah, I agree that it wasn't a great call, but I mean, Houston held him to one field goal in the last 8 minutes of the whole game.
And
That's what cost him the game, not the one referee mishap, non-foul call, foul call, whatever you want to call it. It was Houston's defense toward the end stretch of the game. I mean, they were just absolutely locked down.
Oh yeah, and coming into the game, that was, I believe Houston's holding opponents to 56 and a half points per game the entire season, which is insane. And I didn't think that was sustainable,
Right.
especially with this Duke team. And it was pretty ugly early on, which that's what Houston wants. They want to make it ugly. They want to muck up the game, make turnovers. And it seemed that they did it in the beginning, but then Duke kind of started that talent started pulling away. But you, like you said, one field goal in the last 8 or 10 minutes. You're 100% right. Again, I'm not a refs costing the game, especially in
Yeah.
this one. Um, and I mean, even the guy that stepped to the free throw line, he was only like a 60% free throw shooter.
Yeah.
So even those, that was not a given. But kudos to that guy for knocking down those free throws. Um, Now we have a Florida versus Houston national championship. And to be honest, I'm not very interested in it at all.
I'm
I,
not
I just,
either.
I'm not interested in this game at all. I give kudos to Houston. I think they're a great team, but they're just so, call me a casual, they're just so boring to watch.
They
They
are.
they are the, I would man, I just think Florida's going to win this game by a good margin. Um Really that's I just think Florida's the hottest team. They're the better team. Walter Clayton, it seems like every time the guy shoots a three, it's going to go in. And
Yeah.
it seemed like that for a long time. But it, except now I have to bring this up as a Georgia fan. The last team to beat Florida, Jacob, do you know who that is? I'm
Uh,
sure you do.
I think, oh yeah, Georgia beat them at home, 88 to 83.
That is one of the more crazy. Now, that game, if people remember that game, Georgia just shot the lights out for the first 8 minutes of that
We were
game.
up by 26 points in the first half.
Oh, yes. And me and Jacob were texting around that time, and I was fairly confident that at some point Florida was going to take the lead in that
Me
game.
too.
I didn't care how much we were up by.
Yep.
And Will Richard decided to go nuclear for that second half, and he was hitting every shot imaginable. And they take the lead, and I thought it was over. But
Yep.
we somehow ended up winning that game. So,
If Auburn had a
hey,
blue cane on their team, he's the only one that can close out a game versus Florida, I guess.
I know beating Florida isn't for everyone. I get that not every team can, be clutch like that, like we were.
Yep.
Um, but hey, it is what it is. But me and Jacob have a theory, and this is a theory that we came up with during the season. If
Hmm.
people know the Kirk Cousins curse, which that already got broken, it's it was basically no team that had ever beaten or ever lost to Kirk Cousins in the regular season has gone on to win the Super Bowl. We came up with another theory that no team that loses to Georgia is able to win a national championship.
So it's got to be Houston.
Yes, you would think it's got to be Houston, and this that theory is gonna it's hold true so far.
Yep.
Now again, basketball, a lot of other stuff can happen. So, but yeah, that's the final four, and I guess we could just go ahead and give our predictions. I guess we already did, to be honest, but I think it's Florida. I think Houston will keep it close. I do think that in the first half, at least, they're going to make the game a bit ugly and use that physicality to keep Florida at bay, at least in the
They
beginning.
have to.
Yeah, they're going to have to. But second half, I think it's going to be more of what Duke did, but I don't foresee Florida blowing a 7 point lead with 30 seconds left.
Yeah, that was pretty tough. Pretty tough for Duke on that one. I mean, I want to say I agree with you, but I don't have the heart to pick Florida in anything. So I'm going Houston all the way. They're going to keep the game ugly and physical, and maybe they get Florida into foul trouble or something nice like that, and they just get to hit free throws for the entire second half of the game or something. But going Houston all the way. Can't pick Florida in anything. Doesn't matter if it's women's basketball, tennis, volleyball, or water polo.
Gymnastics.
Not picking Florida. Houston by
So
10.
can we confidently say, Jacob, moving forward on this show, anytime there's a prediction, you will never pick Florida?
I will never pick Florida.
Okay.
Go ahead and mark it
Well,
down. Put it down in your notes, whatever you want.
okay.
I will not pick Florida.
All right. We'll make sure not to predict Florida versus Stanford or whatever the D2 team they play in the
Samford by
first
20.
game of the year. Yeah. Which you would have almost been right. I think it was
Oh, that
three
one year
years
that Samford
ago.
put up like 55 on them. They still lost
Gosh,
though, I think.
the yeah, because Florida scored 70.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was like
Yeah.
70-50 final score.
This is a football game, by the way, not basketball.
Exactly, and man, of course, we go back years and years ago where it's the classic Georgia Southern and Jarek McKinnon quarterback. They didn't throw a pass,
What a
attempt a
game.
pass the entire game, and they ended up beating Florida. The viral clip of the two Florida players blocking each other.
Oh, dude, that was so funny.
Oh, one of
What
the
a
more
clip.
satisfying
What a
days.
clip. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the spring depth chart previews. Let me see here. Go ahead and
Yes.
share my
So,
screen.
as you guys, what we're about to do, Jacob's about to pull up a Google Doc sheet, whatever it is, and it's going to be mainly offense today. We're going to be talking about the offense and
Yes.
what the depth chart is looking like based on just certain intel and just things that we've gathered. Um, and we feel like it's just going to be good to run through this, give our thoughts of what we think, how we think that this is going to change depending on, the spring portal, anything like that. So
Spring
this is just
portal,
kind of open.
injuries, just about anything here.
Yeah.
So we'll
This
go
is,
ahead
yeah, I
and
mean,
start with quarterback right here. It's gonna be Gunner. I feel like at
mhm.
this point, taking the vast majority of all first team reps and everything, it it would be I would be very shocked if anyone but Gunner started the first game of the year at least. Barring any injuries or anything like that, you're gonna have Gunner as your quarterback one, Puglisi is number two, and there's a pretty far gap between those two, and then between Puglisi and everyone else. We got Coulter Jin, Hezekiah Millender, and Ryan Montgomery recovering from his ACL that he tore, I believe it was last spring or his senior year of football. So Coulter Jin's kind of an interesting one we haven't necessarily heard a lot of. He's a walk on, but it's a 6'4", 230-pound walk on. Everyone seems to be like, who is this guy? If they're ever watching practice, they're like, where did he come from? But yeah, so walk on that probably would start at some mid-major program or maybe a group of five school. You got any questions, anything else about quarterbacks?
So you kind of touched on it, but this is my ADHD kicking in. When Coulter Jin's last name, is this a GIF GIF situation where no one knows exactly how to pronounce his name? Because I thought it was Gin. Again, this doesn't really matter, but I'm just curious.
I don't know. Just in the videos that I've watched, someone talking about him, I heard him say Jin, but this person usually gets names wrong too. So it's okay. I could be Gin, could be Jin. I know he's huge and he wears number 17.
Got you. I remember watching Coulter Jin Gin, however you say his last name, in a state championship game. I believe he played for Perry County. And I was watching that game, and he, if those reports are true that he's up to like 225, whatever you just said, then that is shocking to me because he seemed very skinny his senior year at Perry County whenever I was watching that game. Now, again, this was a long time ago, and I am, trying to jog the memory, but very interesting. Um, so when it comes to the quarterbacks, coming into it, there was a feeling or a thought after last year that there was going to be a competition of some kind,
Right.
that it was going to be an open competition between Stockton and Puglisi. And Stockton has seemingly shut all that down and showed that he is the guy and should be the guy. Coming off of that Notre Dame game, watching that game, there were a lot of people that, emotionally just saw that our offense scored 10 points and immediately thought, oh, this quarterback, we can't get it done with him, this, that, and the other. But when I watched that game and I was reflecting on it and why we lost and just everything else, there was not a singular point in that game where I remember looking back and saying, Gunner is the reason why we lost that game. Now,
I
there's one
agree.
moment where in the 2 minute drill, where now again, Freeland got whipped, and
You did.
maybe it was an internal clock situation where Gunner needs to get rid of that ball. He got strip sacked from behind, but then again, you would say 2 minute drill with a guy who's making his first career start when it's 6-3. I don't really know if we should be going on a 2 minute drill, but then the other argument is that points are at a limited and we need to take advantage. So,
Yeah.
um, and I will say, this is not hyperbole when I say this. Gunnar Stockton made the best throw any UGA quarterback made last year at any point in the season. When he hit that deep
Was
ball
it to
against Notre
Arian?
Dame to
Arian down the
Arian,
sideline? Yeah.
Arian down the sideline. Then, of course, the whole sideline incident happened and it gets called back and we end up having to kick a field goal.
Yep.
But uh, at least to me, this is what seems to be the biggest knocks on Gunner. It's nothing to do with necessarily his ability to run the offense or even his talent, because he's probably not as talented as some QBs in the SEC, but he's still a former four-star recruit. Like the guy has talent. It's mainly mechanical stuff, maybe his throwing motion's a little too long, and just overall lack of experience. Um, but then again, I think the more this spring is going to be crucial for him because the amount of reps he's getting, I'm sure they're working on his mechanics. Now, again, he's been there for 4 years, so how much can you really change at
Right.
this point? But just to wrap it up on the quarterbacks here, at least for me, watching that game, I came away more encouraged with what I saw out of Gunner than I did coming into the game because, of course, we had the Texas game where he didn't have to do too much, made one big mistake, and took that absolute. He got
Yeah. Rock.
decapitated,
Yeah.
decapitated against
Yeah.
Texas. And when he got up and didn't, now again, when he got hit and didn't drop the ball, his brain might have just gone silent for a couple of seconds to where like it literally froze up and he didn't know what to do. But
Right.
regardless, he held on to that ball and that helped us win the or not the national championship, the SEC championship.
I agree with
Um,
you on the Gunner stuff. The only little caveat I want to add is that last year, whenever he played, that was essentially him getting thrusted into a system that was pretty much built for Carson Beck. So it's going to have a lot of deep overs, throws over the middle, like layering the football, stuff that Gunner's not necessarily the best at. That was what Carson was really good at. This year, I think we're definitely going to have some more mobility and a lot of more motion built around and Gunner, and his legs are definitely going to play a big part in the offense this year. It's not saying he's a world beater with 4.4 speed or anything like that. He's much more of a maybe starting off slower, getting up to speed. Like once he gets up to speed, then he starts rolling. But he's a big physical quarterback, and I'll be excited to see what the offense looks like with a system that's more necessarily like built for him.
Oh yeah, for sure. And one last thing about the quarterbacks here. We didn't touch a lot about on Puglisi here, but this season is going to be very important for him because he got injured last spring, I believe,
I think so.
and he couldn't get any garbage time because I mean it was Carson Beck and it was Gunnar Stockton who got that. This year, not only this spring, but also getting those cleanup duty minutes and
Yeah,
just getting actual snaps.
we
I
need
think
to
it's going
get
to be
leads, big leads in our
yes,
games, so we can actually have like the ability to put him in the game.
exactly.
We had too many
Um,
close
and
games last year.
And Puglisi, all I hear about him is that the ball just comes out of his hand differently, and that is that's a cliche that you hear all the time. But the people, at least around the program, the people that are there, they think this guy is a different gear in terms
Yep,
of his arm.
I think he's definitely got
We
a
can go
chance to
on
be special. Let's go ahead
for
and move
sure.
on to the running backs here. So we know. So I have them separated between like traditional running back, like a first and second down back, and then like a third down running back or gadget back. Just kind of people that you move all around the formation, play a little slot receiver, play split them out wide, stuff like that. On these traditional running backs, you have Nate Frazier, who's pretty much cemented himself as RB1 from what he did last year. Granted, we didn't have the best rushing offense in general last year, but whenever Nate Frazier was in the game, it's almost like he provided an extra spark to the offense. He's an absolute burner, can get it done between the tackles as well. And then next on the list is someone who we've gotten quite familiar with, Cash Jones, back for his, I guess, maybe his sixth year, at least his fifth year senior. But he might even have a COVID year in there, so he could be a sixth year. And he's going to be the primary third down running back, someone who comes in on obvious passing situations. He's very good at catching the ball out of the backfield. He's got great hands for a back, can line him up in the slot as well. And then we have Chauncey Bowens, who is in Nate Frazier's class, I believe. He's
Yes.
more of a bruiser type back. Not gonna go down on first contact. I've heard a lot of good stuff coming out of him this spring. It seems like he could come in there to provide more of like a Zamir White type of running back, rather than Nate Frazier, who I'd probably compare to someone like maybe DeAndre Swift in recent years. They're kind of built similar. Then here we got freshman Bo Walker, who's definitely been turning some heads in the spring practice this year. I read a report that he's another one of these guys that just doesn't go down on first contact. Like he will run through, run over, or just has that good contact balance to get through the first tackler. And then the Robinson brothers injured,
The
Branson,
law firm.
the law firm of Roderick and Branson Robinson injured. But I mean, if they get anywhere close to where they have been in past, like freshman year, Branson Robinson was just unbelievable. I just remember
In the
him
national championship
all
game
over
running back.
TCU. Yeah. And then Roderick he's just built like a slightly more compact Derrick Henry. He's kind of crazy whenever he gets healthy. Whenever these two get healthy, they're probably going to fit in right behind Nate Frazier or maybe behind Cash Jones. I just feel like Cash Jones has the third down running back solidified. So I feel like when these guys get healthy, if they get healthy, would be splitting carries with Nate more than likely, and then just kind of bump everyone else down.
Yeah, for sure. And I can kind of touch on a little bit here. No surprise to anyone, Nate Frazier, the guy, there are cuts and just overall movements that he was making last year that I have not seen out of a UJ running back since, like you said, those DeAndre Swift days.
Yep.
This guy, he's got a different gear to him, and I am very excited to see what he can do with the bulk of the carries. Of course, this is Georgia, so we're going to substitute every other play, it seems
Yep.
like. But when it comes to the important carries that we need to get it, I'm very. Now, when it comes to Nate Frazier, I think the one thing that he could probably improve on that would make him a more overall well-rounded running back is that catching out of the backfield
Yep.
to where he can be more of a all-purpose back.
Yep.
If he can get that and develop that, then we're talking about Doak Walker winner in the future potentially. Um, and I gotta say, one of the more encouraging pieces of intel that we've gotten is that this Bo Walker kid is seemingly gonna be a guy,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know if a lot of you remember, but Bo Walker was the only running back commit that I believe that we had in this 2025 class. No, 20, I want to say is the 2025 class, I believe. He was the only running back commit. Jacob, if you want to fact check me on that at any point, feel free. But I remember he was like a three-star guy and he wasn't that highly rated. And even when it came to Georgia, they were trying to push hard to get another running back committed in that class. And it was Ousmane Kromah who was between us, Florida State, and Auburn. He's a guy from Lee County.
Yep.
He committed to Georgia, and it seemed like we had Ousmane Kromah and Bo Walker, but then Ousmane Kromah flips to Florida State. So then we were left with Bo Walker, and there wasn't a good feeling about this upcoming running back class just signing a three-star guy. But he's seemingly turning heads in the spring, and I am very encouraged by that because once again, like you said, it's just we want to reload that running back room. This University of Georgia, some think it's RBU, and it's important that that Bo Walker guy is turning to be a pleasant surprise because, like I said, you, 3 stars at the University of Georgia, you don't get too excited about them. But of course, you've had your Jordan Davises and your lower ranked guys that have turned out to be dudes, and I'm excited to see if Bo Walker can be that in the future.
Yeah, me too. You are also correct that Bo Walker was the only commit in the 2025 class at the running back position. But yeah, I agree. Heard a lot of good stuff out of him out of the spring, and I definitely think he could be a guy. Now, let's touch on this third down running back situation where we know Cash Jones is essentially going to be it. And he's going to get some run on those first and second down carries as well. Don't count him out of that. But he is definitely going to be the primary pass catcher out of the backfield. But then we have a fan favorite, Dylan Bell, making his return back to the running back room. I think this is a great move. I think this is a great move. He showed some flashes at wide receiver last year and the year before, but he really had his best season, I think, which was 2 years ago when he was splitting carries in the running back room. And we seemingly have him back there. I also have him he's on the receiver depth chart as well because he's essentially like a do-it-all player. He's been there for a long time, knows the playbook, and he seemingly knows about 3 or 4 positions worth of plays in the playbook. So he's going to get some run back at running back, hopefully, come this fall. What do you think?
I gotta tell you, Jacob, the attitude and the mood around just this overall skill position group is on a different level when Dylan Bell is in that gadget slash do it all type of role. Because last year he was basically forced it to be our X receiver,
Yeah,
which he showed flashes of potentially doing that, like in the Tennessee game 2 years ago. But he just showed that that is not his natural position, and it really wasn't fair to him to play that because I mean it was just suspensions and injuries that made him go into that. But him being that running back and that just overall gadget guy is going to do wonders for this offense because in that same mold where Cash Jones is in to create a mismatch on a linebacker on a wheel route, or maybe
yep,
he motions into the slot and kind of gets in the flat. Dylan Bell can do that times whatever because he, and like I said, he did play receiver last year, so he at least built that skill set of a running back route runner when he is in to create mismatches, and that's what he's in to do.
absolutely. I agree. I'm excited to see him take some carries for sure. And then we have Dwight Phillips Jr., Peanut, who is probably the most electric player on the entire offense. I mean, think Arian Smith speed, but in a more compact, like more so built like a running back's body. I mean, I just want to see him get loose in the open field once or twice. Can have one of those 75, 80 plus yard touchdowns that we haven't seemingly had in about 4 years.
Track speed, that's all I got to add. He got track speed, and yeah, not too sure how much run he's going to get this year, but in the future,
Yep.
definitely, I'm very excited to see him
Who knows?
in
Running
that
backs can
speed.
get banged up. It's
Yeah,
an
exactly.
injury
That's true.
prone position. Not prone, but a lot of injuries happen to running backs. I mean, every play they're just getting beaten over. Well, let's go ahead and move over to the tight ends here. We can start with West Forsyth's finest, Oscar Delp. Give me your take on Oscar.
I mean, Oscar, I mean, he's the most tenured guy in this room, and I'm you in this day and age in college football. you don't get a lot of 3-year starters returning for that fourth year
Right.
of experience, having 3 spring practices in a Georgia uniform. Say what you want about Oscar Delp in terms of he hasn't produced in the way that you think he is, and oh, in the classic, he's no Brock Bowers, but I mean, at the end of the day, it
Newsflash,
sucks.
nobody is.
Yeah, exactly. It sucks for Oscar because he's seemingly going to have that attached to him, at least in the time that he's at Georgia, because he was the guy that was the very next successor to Brock Bowers.
Yep.
Again, no one was going to be able to do that because, I mean, Brock Bowers is literally just generational talent. But Oscar, he has developed everything that we have heard is that he has developed so much as a run blocker and
Yep.
just an overall blocker.
Just
Um,
that traditional Y tight end attached to the line of scrimmage next to one of the offensive tackles. He's gonna be that Y for sure. And I bring that up because we have Lawson Lucky here, and both of these guys are essentially going to be starters in our offense. I mean, Georgia's known for running a lot of 12 personnel, which is one running back, two tight ends. So that means Lawson Lucky is going to be more of the H back, H tight end. That's more of the Brock Bowers ish, but I mean, it's hard comparing anyone to Brock Bowers. He's just someone that's going to play an H back role, probably going to have more pass catching opportunities like we saw last year than Delp did. It seems like whenever we were looking to get a tight end loose over the middle of the field, it was Lawson Lucky, and Oscar Delp was more or less not a glorified tackle because he does have a lot of pass catching upside and he's a great athlete. But Lawson Lucky has been the focus point at the tight end rooms of if we need to get one of them the ball, it's going to be him.
Oh yeah, and both those guys have shown flashes of their pass catching. Of course,
Absolutely.
Oscar, remember, whenever Brock Bowers gets injured a couple years ago, and Oscar has that one-hand snag against
Yeah.
Florida,
What
and
a
then even
catch.
last year, more recently against Georgia Tech, he was the
Yep.
guy that was it? No, it was Tennessee. It was the Tennessee game I'm thinking of
Oh
when
yeah.
Oscar had the 2 touchdowns. That's the game that I'm thinking of, where he showed that hey, if our offense isn't going and we need you to make a play for us, he did it, and that's exactly what we're going to need. And Lawson, of course, he made that snag where he jumped up, and I'm trying to think about what game that was, where he barely got the foot down. That was against Texas.
Oh yeah.
That was when
Yeah.
Gunner rolls out, throws it, and Lawson goes up and catches that. That got our offense going. So when it comes to this year and the immediate of what our offense is going to be, I think that these guys provide just a stability and an overall just what we're going to be very stable at the tight end room this
I
year because
agree.
we got those two
They can
guys.
both take on that like safety blanket role for Gunner.
Exactly. And then we go lower on this chart and we got some guys here. We got some guys that are getting buzz, that are getting all types of amazing pub from the people that are in the know. And
Might be the three
this,
best athletes in the room.
oh, I know. When we talk about Ethan Barbour, this guy, something that we continue to hear from is that this guy is, he's just a different mentality type of guy.
Yep.
He is seemingly ahead of his time. He is a professional and he approaches the practices and overall his role as a professional, which I mean, honestly, shouldn't be too surprising because he's coming from Milton, which, Milton, they're basically a college program up
Yeah.
there for those that know. Um, and whenever we recruited this guy, I kind of saw him as okay, so he's based on his body type, he's going to be a good possession, just overall over the middle, safety blanket
Right.
type.
Hmm.
But at Milton, they started splitting him out wide, and he started running these crazy, routes that your typical receiver runs,
Right.
and the speed is coming along, and of course the mentality that you can't teach. He, I am. This guy is going to be a dude,
Yeah. I mean, when you're the
and
primary pass catcher on that Milton team and CJ Wiley is your teammate, like he was the primary pass catcher. I'm very bullish on Ethan Barbour. I think he's probably going to get some run as a freshman for sure. Just like you said, comes in as a true freshman, first spring practice, already seemingly a pro. Everyone, that's how they're describing him, is he's a professional out there. And then you got Elias Williams, who is an avatar. We got the professional and the avatar, two true freshmen, both 5-star tight ends. Elias is every last bit of 6'7", 225, 230 pounds. Think like kind of built like a Darnell Washington, but much more of a fluid athlete. Just smooth in and out of breaks and cuts, runs great routes for someone of that size. And then just, I mean, he was a very highly recruited basketball player. I think he was a 5-star tight end and like a 4-star power forward in basketball. So someone who's used to just getting up there, jumping, getting rebounds, and then just snatching passes out of the air. I think he's going to see some big time, at least run this spring in this room. I mean, it's such a deep tight end room. Like, we have the deepest tight end room in the country when seemingly your fifth guy is a 5-star who was, I mean, he played like X receiver in high school too. I mean, you have to think he's going to get some red zone packages for sure.
This is going to be a guy where at some point this year, he's going to go up and make an insane catch in the red zone for a touchdown.
Yep.
And everyone that you're in the room with watching her be like, who the heck is that guy? And why is he in and only with 3 minutes of the fourth quarter of a blowout? He's like, he looks like he's 7 foot tall.
Yep.
You're gonna be able to come to this and be like, oh, that's Elias Williams. He's, the next freakazoid athlete tight end that's just gonna be another one of the great ones.
Yep. That
Elias
is.
Williams, this guy was the number one tight end in the country for seemingly the entirety of his high school career. He was an early commit to
Yeah.
Georgia. I believe he committed sometime like 2023,
He was an early
and it was
commit,
a
yeah.
very drama-free recruitment. And he just stayed locked in with Georgia, and now he's here. And again, another one of those guys where not too sure about exactly this year, although I will say he will get some run at times. But this guy, I gotta find another thing to say other than I'm very excited because I feel like I've said that like 1,000 times. But he, once again, that Barbour Williams duo, just keep on the lookout for that because they are going to be a different breed.
Absolutely. You ready to move on to the X receiver?
Oh yeah, I'm actually very excited about this room as a whole.
Yeah.
And one thing last year, we knew we had to upgrade the receivers. That was
Yep.
1A have to do it. And the moves that we've made that we're going to get into, I, I can't I can't think of a better just overall offseason that we could have had in terms of bringing in more talent at the receiver position.
I agree, both in true freshmen and in the portals. I mean, Colby Young, not a true freshman in the portal, but he's one of the older guys that we have back from last year, coming off of his suspension and all that stuff. It seems like he's going to be good to go come fall. And he's with the team right now, full practicing and everything like that. And he's been the starting X receiver. I feel like he definitely knows the playbook probably a little bit better than someone like Noah Thomas. But Noah Thomas was one of the top transfer prospects in the entire portal. He's a 6'5", big bodied receiver. He's got one of the more incredible highlight tapes against Auburn from last year that I've ever seen. I think he had 140 something yards and 3 touchdowns in one game versus Auburn. So he's got SEC experience as well, coming from Texas A&M. Anything on those first two guys?
I mean, you pretty much touched on it. They are your traditional X receivers. After the Clemson game last year, when Colby Young goes up and makes that catch, that's where we thought he was going to thrive. Of course, there were some off-field issues, but now that that's cleared up, and you bring in a guy like Noah Thomas, every bit of 6'6", I mean, those are going to be to just go up and get it type of receivers.
Absolutely. I mentioned CJ Wiley earlier when talking about Ethan Barbour. They're both on that insane Milton High School team that won state last year. Another big body, 6'4" plus, just 220 pounds. He's gonna go up and get it. All three of these guys are just built like exactly how you would build a receiver in college football 25. Like, just go up and get it, big body, fast, strong, everything you could want in a at least a true freshman receiver. And then we have a familiar face again, Dylan Bell. He he's probably going to start at one of these positions, you'd have to think. I mean, he's been the most consistent thing in the receiver room since he's gotten there, probably. In terms of availability is the best ability. I think that's is that the saying? The best ability is availability.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just been there. He's worked up the rapport with Gunner. I mean, he's going to be a guy. Hopefully he has at least somewhat of a breakout year this year and then gets himself drafted going into the 2026 draft. Anything else on the X's? Tyler Williams is he injured his foot in spring practice, so he won't be returning until the fall, I don't think.
Yeah, no, nothing more on the X receiver. I think we hit that pretty good.
All right, let's go over
Yeah, we can go
to
ahead and move on to Z.
Z. London Humphreys, transfer from Vanderbilt from last year. He's an interesting one for sure. He ran track as well at Vanderbilt. He's got a whole track background, but he's pretty big. He's like 6'2" and a half, 6'3", and just fast as lightning. I have high hopes for London Humphreys coming into this upcoming year.
No, yeah, and once again, referencing the Clemson game, when he takes that ball and goes seemingly 50 yards,
Yep.
it was like, oh, that guy can run, and hopefully he can, you know, for him, it was always going to be of this year is the year where he
Yeah.
takes a big
Here's a
step in that role.
two year portal
Yeah,
guy.
that was kind of the plan for him. So, I mean, this is the year for him to do it. And, of course, top of the depth chart with, of course, right below him, Nitro Tuggle with the suspension.
Yep.
Um, Not too sure on the timeline for Tuggle. Again, Kirby's not really going to give a whole lot of info on that end, but just disappointing for Nitro because he showed flashes last year at some point.
Yeah.
Um,
In the
but
Tennessee game, he flashed for sure. And
yeah,
I mean, if he handles everything the right way off the field and maybe doesn't hit the portal, I think he's got a chance to be a guy though. But we've already had one portal scare from him as well.
yeah,
Next, we got Talon Taylor, true freshman. He's a 5-star receiver. Very similar to CJ Wiley in terms of the recruiting ranking, but he's got that more of a Z body type. He's about 6'1", a little bit less than 200 pounds, I think. I mean, what I hear about him is that his routes are just perfect. He might be the best route running receiver in the room already as a true freshman. He's probably going to get a little bit of burn this year. I mean, everyone's going to play. It's Georgia, like you said, we transfer or rotate in just about everyone we can whenever we think is possible.
no, yeah. And Talon Taylor, he was a 5-star guy, and he is last. I mean, one of the few 5-star receivers that we've recruited over the past couple years, I
Yeah,
believe.
he's the first
Was it
one since
Pickett?
Pickens and Blaylock, I think.
Yeah,
Like the true
and
5-star.
oh yeah, and
And we have Dylan
I
Bell again. And then Landon Rolden is coming in as a freshman, just a straight burner. He might be challenging Dwight Phillips for one of the fastest guys on the team, or at least on the offense. Uh, he should have a bright future ahead of him. This upcoming year is probably not going to be his year, considering he's kind of buried on a deep Z receiver room. He could get some run over here in the slot as well, maybe have a little bit more opportunity there. But for the freshman, it's all just about learning the playbook and how to be a Georgia Bulldog, right?
no, yeah, exactly. And I remember watching this guy's highlight tape of his
It's a
senior
crazy
year at
highlight tape.
North Oconee High School, which North Oconee, they seem like just pump out athletes and good athletic program. I'm pretty sure they have a chance to win the Triple Crown
Yeah.
um, football state championship, basketball state championship, and baseball state championship. Which Landon Roldan, he's a guy that would actually be helping that North Oconee baseball team if he wasn't a early enrollee at Georgia. Just overall, just great athlete,
Just a
and
true athlete. Yep.
I see him in the future as being, and this is no disrespect to London Humphreys, but London Humphreys, but upgraded version.
Yeah, I agree. That would be really nice to see in the upcoming years. I mean, if he develops into something like that, you got a chance to be really special. Anything else on the Z's? You want to move over to the slots?
Oh, I see that name right now that you're highlighted on, and
Yep.
I'm ready to talk about it because this guy
Go ahead.
Zachariah Brandt, this guy is one of the more electric athletes and receivers that we've had in a long time.
In
One
all
could
of college
say,
football.
yeah, all of college football. He, I just want to see us get him the ball in open space and let him go to work. I want to see those deep balls. I want to see him. He's a guy where I say, I need you to win this one on one, like when we need you to.
Yep.
And that might be asking a lot for a first year guy, but this guy was the number one receiver coming out of the class of 2023, commits to USC, has a really good freshman year, and seemingly was going to just take off. But last year, with the quarterback situation and everything, enters the portal, and luckily, Georgia's got him now. So, I mean, he, I'm ready to see him get loose.
Very excited to watch some Zachariah Branch in the good old red and black. I think, like you said, he's going to be one of the most explosive athletes on the field at all times. When you have someone like this who can win one-on-ones with speed, and then over here in the X room, you can win one-on-ones with size with these guys. I mean, this is a great and a very deep overall wide receiver room. I think, I mean, play man coverage if you wish, but we got people who win one-on-ones in just about every way possible. Kind of like Sokovie White here. He's a little bit smaller guy. Most of these slot receivers are on the smaller side, but someone who, I mean, we've seen some crazy catches from him from last spring in the spring game. He kind of he had a little run and broke out in the spring game of last year of his true freshman year, but coming in as a sophomore this year, he's definitely going to get some run at the slot. All right, yeah. Cole Spear is going to round out the slot receiver room. He's a burner. He's been a special teams guy for his first several years at Georgia. I mean, he's got some potential to be a good player, but I mean, he's very, very fast, and he's a heat-seeking missile on the outside on the punt team and kickoff.
Just a special teams demon, and this is the kind of guy you're rooting for because guys like this are usually in the portal, like
Right.
when they can. And I mean, I guarantee you, Cole Spear could be playing on like a James Madison right now.
Yeah.
But he loves Georgia, and he just wants to do what he can. So watch for him on special teams, and then hey, maybe he gets a catch here and there. But yeah, definitely a guy you're rooting for.
Absolutely. Just a Georgia boy through and through. All right, let's jump over to the offensive line. We're not going to take as much time here because you can look at me and Cole and determine that we were not offensive linemen. We don't have too much experience there. But we've
And
seen from Monroe. What's
one thing
that?
about this program is that we're not going to lie to you and tell you that we know stuff that we don't. We're going to be straight up with you.
Yep.
We know enough to talk about this, but when it comes to offensive line ins and outs, we're not experts. So take that when we ever we go into this
I
part of
liked
it.
what we saw from Monroe Freeling last year. He came in, just kind of solidified himself as a guy. He was playing hurt in those last two games of the year. I think he tore his labrum, so he had shoulder surgery. So he's not participating in this spring practice. And then Jamal Merriweather and Juan Gaston. Juan Gaston, a freshman coming in. I've heard a lot of good things about Juan Gaston. He's gonna be a guy.
I really hope Monroe can come around and be that highly touted guy that we expect him to be. Had a
Rough Notre
rough
Dame.
Notre Dame game, but we're hoping for a bounce back.
Absolutely. All right, left guard's gonna be Micah Morris. He's kind of the veteran in the room now. He's just an absolute physical freak. built like a freak of nature. He's just like a cinder block offensive lineman. Hopefully, I mean, if he can keep the conditioning up and stay in shape, we're going to be good there. Mason Short, incoming freshman. He was one of the higher rated offensive linemen in his class. He went to Evans, I believe, which is right up by Augusta, and he's got some good promise. He's going to be a good player here in the future. And then Marquise Easley got suspended. We're not going to talk about him too much. Anything on the left guards?
Nope, I think that pretty much covers it.
People see the name and
No,
think Bobo and might not get
hey,
too excited. I mean, he's a
you know,
four-star recruit at a high school. Is a big-time offensive lineman.
you got to get quiet because as soon as people hear that Bobo name, the groans, the oh, are going to start. So I'm sure that happened. That Drew Bobo just he's gonna he's gonna do the job. I again, like I said, I don't know too much about the offensive line, but
He
I
played
believe
well
that this.
in replacement for
Yeah,
Jared Wilson when he got hurt last year. I think he's going to be good. And then right tackle, Daniel Calhoun is a second year guy. He's got an ankle injury right now. He could be very, very, very good for us this upcoming year. Staying healthy. I mean, he was the number one. I think he was a tackle coming out of high school, but most of these
yeah,
guys are tackles. We kind of just recruit tackle body types because, I mean, they're usually bigger and slightly more athletic. Michael Unai and Marcus Harrison as well. They're, I mean, just units. Everyone on this offensive line is built like an avatar.
yeah. And then when we talk about guys that we want to have a bounce back, it's the Monroe Freeling and it's the Ernest Green, those two tackles.
Yep.
Which of course Ernest Green going to be the starting right tackle, highly rated guy, had a good
Yes.
start, and we really need him to. We need those tackles to hold up because once again, having Gunnar Stockton his first full year starting, can't think of two more important guys of just protecting him than those.
Absolutely. Yeah, Ernest played hurt for the majority of last year too. At least that's what I like to think, because compared to his true freshman year, he did not have a good year last year. Would love to see a big bounce back from Ernest Green. Don't know too much about Bo Hewley and Nair Daniels, but I know Jaw Jackson was a basketball recruit and stands at about 6'10", 330 something pounds. He's if you see on this on Georgia's sideline, he's going to be the biggest person there. Uh, so hopefully he's definitely has a high ceiling of what he could potentially develop into in maybe in the later years. I don't think this upcoming year is necessarily going to be his time, but hopefully in the future he could be someone special. Like a 6'10" right tackle. That's kind of scary.
Yeah, and he once again he is in this Elias Williams mold where at some point he's going to be in the game and someone's going to be like, "Who the
Like
heck is
what?
that guy?"
Yep.
I mean, he's just that physically imposing. And whenever he committed to Georgia, I was very curious about this recruitment. I didn't know if this was a actually we thought he was good type of recruit or if this was a hey, this guy's 6'10 and athletic, we're just going to give him a shot,
I
which
mean,
is probably a little.
yeah, he's got good feet too from being a basketball recruit. Like that's all you need. If you need size, length, and good feet to play tackle. I think he's probably gonna get some run at left tackle here too with the injuries to Monroe Freeling as well. But I mean, any opportunity that he gets, if he gets in the game and he just takes the opportunity by the throat and just proves to be a guy, he might find himself in a starting role and never out of one.
Man. So I think, at least for the offense, that does it. We pretty much ran through almost every player that we just covered. Like that is someone who at some point this year you're going to see on the field and is an important piece for the future. Of course, some of these guys are this year, but I feel like that was a good run through, and I feel like we pretty much hit everything you could imagine on the offense, Jacob.
I agree. I think we got it all. That's gonna be it for episode number 2, the Gridiron Pulse.
Sweet. Well, hey, like we said, appreciate anyone that joins here. We got to do the classic. Like, comment, subscribe,
Like,
rate,
comment,
review,
subscribe.
all,
Thanks for
all
watching.
that.
We had fun. I had fun. What about you?
Oh, I had a great time, and just talking about this, I think when you look at it, this just gives me more of that optimism and
Yeah.
excitement when I'm talking through all these players because you forget a lot of the times as a Georgia
Right.
fan just how much talent you have on a given roster. And we got the talent. It's just going to be, it's a young team, but at the end of the day, it's just going to be about coming together. And I mean, we're never going to be starved for talent, and we're going to be the most talented team on the field against 95% of the teams we play.
Absolutely. I agree. Speaking of talent, we'll be going over more talent next episode. We'll do the defensive depth chart breakdown just in a very similar way to what we did this one. And thanks everyone for joining. Like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and follow us on social media.